Good afternoon, KELOLAND. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. It's already warm. Temperatures in the 70s and 80s. We'll have our numbers hit the 80s, maybe a couple of low 90s in the western South Dakota. We'll watch for these afternoon showers and thunderstorms across western KELOLAND. High of 86 today in Rapid City. More details on your forecast coming up as we begin midday in KELOLAND.
Live from KELOLAND Media Group. Midday in KELOLAND.
A Shields sales event is beginning to be held to benefit a local nonprofit, Plus.
The Democratic National Convention is set to kick off today as a new poll shows more than a third of registered voters don't know what Vice President Harris stands for. I'm Caroline Cummings in Chicago with a look at what's planned for day one.
Good afternoon, and thanks for having us in. Two men from Omaha, Nebraska are accused of scamming a South Dakota tribal casino out of hundreds of thousands of dollars. New this midday, they face charges in federal court. Court documents unsealed today say the alleged scheme involved a series of phone calls to the Grand River Casino near Moorebridge back in February. The callers allegedly convinced an employee the casino owed $700,000 in fees for an audit or inspection. The callers allegedly said the money needed to be paid immediately. An employee also received a text message from someone claiming to be a supervisor who told them to assist the callers. The worker emptied the casino's vault, drove to Mitchell, and handed over a box with $352,000 cash inside. The Omaha men are charged with federal wire fraud, theft from a casino on tribal lands, and transporting stolen money. Shields in Sioux Falls is preparing to host an after-hours sales event to benefit a local nonprofit. Ducks and Bucks is an exclusive shopping experience featuring everything from hunting gear to giveaways. Tickets are $10, but you'll receive a $10 Shields gift card with ticket proceeds donated to either Wheelchair Adventures or Warriors Never Give Up.
They're both awesome, and I would say go online and vote for one that maybe pulls at your heartstrings the most, but then I would research the other one, and if you can get involved in some way, I would do that because they're both really cool.
Ducks and Bucks is set for Sunday, September 15th at 7 o'clock at night. The first 300 tickets to the event are sold out, but another 100 will be available beginning this Thursday. If the event is a sellout, the winning nonprofit will receive $4,000. We'll tell you how you can have a say in who wins tonight on KELOLAND News. In weather, pretty hot out there. Maybe getting some rain out west this afternoon or evening, huh, Scott?
Hey, we'll watch that. There is now a slight risk for severe weather in the western South Dakota. In the meantime, temperatures will warm with mostly sunny skies found across eastern South Dakota. I know we had some patchy fog earlier this morning. That's now gone. The clouds are starting to thicken a little across western and southwestern South Dakota, and that will be the trend as we do head into the afternoon. Temperatures at the moment are in the 70s and 80s. We're at 80 in Sioux Falls, 77 in Mitchell, 80 in Huron and Aberdeen, 81 in Pierre, and 79 in Rapid City. As you do see southerly winds around 15 to 20 miles per hour. That covers central and western South Dakota. Not as strong in eastern KELOLAND, though I do think we'll have a south wind around 5 to 15. A little bit of humidity in the air, too, as you notice these dew point temperatures in the low to middle 60s. I think we'll stay there for the next several days. As you can see here on Futurecast, showers, thunderstorms will develop into the hills of western South Dakota. These are expected to move to the east as we go through this evening, maybe hitting central KELOLAND as we do get into the late evening hours and overnight, where it looks like here we'll have a high of 85, 84 degrees in Winter and Chamberlain, up to 86 today in Rapid City, low to middle 80s in the eastern South Dakota. Tonight, temperatures fall to the 60s. We'll continue to watch our shower and thunderstorm chances. They'll move through central South Dakota, and we'll see how far to the east they do get, but we will carry that shower and thunderstorm chance for tomorrow in parts of eastern and southeastern KELOLAND. With the thick cloud cover, temperatures will be cooler, numbers in the 70s for highs. That will cover eastern South Dakota, Minnesota, and Iowa, and then we have that difference with temperatures in the 80s in central KELOLAND to the low 90s in western South Dakota. I'll have more details on your KELOLAND Live Doppler forecast coming up.
Thank you, Scott. Today's start to the Democratic National Convention in Chicago prompted us to dig deep into our archives to look back on KELOLAND news coverage of conventions past.
Delegates started arriving at the Summit Hotel in New York City Saturday afternoon and will continue until Monday morning. The delegates here include South Dakota, Hawaii, Massachusetts, Alabama, and Kentucky.
This was our coverage from the Democratic National Convention back in 1976 when delegates selected Jimmy Carter as their presidential nominee. We're going to look back on how technology through the decades changed our convention coverage with both parties. Coming up in tonight's Eye on KELOLAND at 10 o'clock. Chicago's buzzing as the DNC is set to kick off in just a few hours. Current President Joe Biden will deliver the keynote speech tonight, but the rest of the week will be focused on the future, with Vice President Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket. Carolyn Cummings reports.
With the Democratic National Convention set to start in just a few hours, Vice President Kamala Harris's number 2, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, spoke to delegates about the hard work ahead.
We are going to leave it all on the field. We're going to knock every door that needs to be knocked. We are going to have no regrets on this.
As Harris gets ready to accept her party's nomination later this week, a CBS News YouGov poll shows she has opened up a 3-point lead nationally over her Republican rival, former President Donald Trump. But she is effectively tied in the battleground states that are likely to decide the race.
With Vice President Harris and Tim Walz leading the ticket, I think it's really finally showing that the Democratic Party is truly committed to being the forward-looking party.
But the poll also showed that more than a third of registered voters say they don't know what Harris stands for.
I very much consider us the underdog. We have a lot of work to do to earn the vote of the American people.
Harris will use the convention to introduce herself to voters and outline her vision for the future. But first, a look back and a passing of the torch with tributes planned for tonight's headline speaker, President Joe Biden.
He sees his role in this campaign as volunteer-in-chief. He's ready to do whatever he needs to do, whatever she wants him to do to get her elected.
Security is tight in Chicago as law enforcement prepares for large protests opposing the war in Gaza.
We're marching on the DNC to demand an end to all U.S. aid to Israel.
In addition to protests outside, a pro-Palestinian group that calls itself Delegates Against Genocide will protest inside the DNC this week. Caroline Cummings, CBS News, Chicago.
The Democratic Party released its platform ahead of the convention. It includes support for raising the federal minimum wage to $15 per hour, making the child tax credit permanent, and protections for IVF and abortion services.